Alright, this next section hopefully won't be too bad on the screen. Hopefully you can see everything. This is Chapter 5, Objectives 95 to 96. This is on histograms. We're getting into reading graphs. So we're going to take care of some terms as we go through this. A histogram is basically a display of statistical information that uses rectangles to show the frequency of data items in successive numerical intervals of equal size. Now I know that's a mouthful, but we'll deal with that as we go through the graphs when we get to those points. So, one of the other terms that you're going to need to know is relative frequency. What is relative frequency? It's the fraction of the times the value occurs, or the frequency of values divided by the number of observations in the set. So these are terms that you're going to see as you go through each of the questions for the histogram section here. Our other term is total frequency. It's really the number of observations in a data set. So what's the total? And our last term is interval. Interval is the amount of time between two specific instances or events that take place. And our last term is a frequency histogram. This is a graph that uses vertical columns to show frequencies. And again, we'll go through each one of these as we take on some questions. So those are the terms that we need to understand as we go through it. Again, a lot of big words. Need to ask questions if you have issues with this part. So here's our example first of a histogram. So if we take a look at what it says, and I'll read it to you so it's not too difficult. It says test scores for the 28 members of the advanced math class are represented in the histogram below. How many students had scores between 79 and 80? So over on the left hand side of the graph you see the word frequency. Frequency is again how much that happens. So it is broken up into evens of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And then you have each one of the other ones are the odd numbers. So you start out at 1, go to 2, go to 3, go to 4, go to 5. Our question is, what happened and how many students scored between 79 and 90 points? So what you're going to do is you're going to go down to the graph and you're going to look at, well, here's 70 to 79, here's 80 to 89, 90 to 99, and so on. We're looking for the range of 79 to 90. So we want to find out, well, this is the back end of where 79 would be. Here's the beginning end, or the beginning part of where 80 or 90 would start. So what is the top value of this? And our top value is just simply 6. So we're looking for how many students scored between scores or had scores between 79 and 80 or 90, and here's where your bunch would be. So we're showing a history of the scores. How often did that occur? In this case it was 6 times. Our next example looks a little bit different on the axes in regards to the bottom one. Now we talk about an interval. We're still dealing with frequency, how much did it happen, but we're talking about the interval. So now this is a divisional part of what happened. Now, to help you out on these, count the little dots inside the bar graphs on this one. So it says, use the histogram below to find the total frequency for the interval from 1.5 to 3.5. So our place on the graph that we're looking for is this part right here. It's 1.5 to 3.5. So again, I'm going to go down and say, well, here is our 1.5, here's our 3.5. So I'm going to take care of counting this one, and I'm going to count up this one. And I'm going to come up with a total. So if you count up these little tick marks, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and we have 17. Well, that kind of helps you out for this one because 17 is right here. This goes up 1 So this one happened 18 times. So we want to know the total of the frequency. So we're just going to simply take these two numbers and add them together. So 17 plus 18 is going to give us an answer of 35. So you read it the same way, it just looks different, but you're looking for the range and then how much did that happen in those parts. If there's two of them or more than one, you just simply add them up and go from there. Our other example is we have now given a frequency table. So it says the retirement ages of 30 police detectives are recorded in the following frequency table. So now they've taken and made a table and they've given you now the data for that and put it into already bar graphs, or in this case histograms. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that one, we're going to just kind of do some comparisons here. We know the age is 50 to 52, 50 to 52, and that's common throughout all three graphs. The other one that we want to look at is we want to look at our frequency. Well, in our 50 to 52, that gives us 2. Now, we're looking at, if we're looking at frequency, we're looking at this one. If we're looking at relative frequency, notice our decimals now, which represent this part. So we have to understand which graph we're looking at, and it looks like we've got two graphs that have the relative frequency and one that just has frequency. So I'm going to look at 0.067. Well, on my graph here, 0.067 goes for the 50 to 52 range, and again for here for this one. So that one checks out. Now I'm going to go to my next one, and I'm going to go, well, this next one should be at 3. Here's 3. I'm going to go to 0.1. Well, you have to figure out now 0.1 is going to be right in here, so that goes to 0.1. This one goes up to 0.1. So again, that one checks out. So now we're going to go to our 6. So 56 to 58 should go to 6. It should go to 2 here. So here's our 2 line. Notice this one goes above it. So that one automatically gets taken out. And this one goes to our 2 line, and that becomes our answer. So you've got to make sure that you're looking at total frequency for this as you go through it. Because if you notice on this one here is, but we're looking for relative frequency. So in our directions, you got to be careful. Are we looking for frequency or are we looking for relative frequency? And in this case, if it says relative frequency, I'm going to cross A out right away. I'm not even going to look at that. So I'm going to look at the ones that have the relative frequency on the left-hand side of the graph. Another example is, again, similar to the first one, a test scores of 26 members. We want to know what their scores were between 70 and 79. So again, our numbers start here and go to here. Or no, sorry. Read this a little better. 70 to 79, so we're in this box here. Well, we just look up at how many students. That was 4, so that gives us our answer of 4 for this one. So that basically takes care of this section. It's not very difficult. It's just a matter of reading it, looking at the terms, what are they asking you for, the tables, and from there taking on the issue of matching it up with the right graph. So I don't think you should have too much difficulty with this part. Just make sure that you're taking the time to read the graphs and use your notes.